we are here with NYU women's basketball in the Sweet 16 of the NCAA Division III tournament. We are joined by Caroline Pepper, Olivia Legal, Ala Cabrera, and head coach Mike Barber. Coach, just thoughts on the game, how the team played out there tonight?
Yeah, I mean, obviously, first off, just credit to Hardin Simmons. You know, they're an incredibly well-coached team. Jacqueline Berry, I think, is one of the best players in the country. Obviously, had a tremendous first half, and we really had to adjust our game plan at halftime to try and just make things difficult for her. But that was just a really complete team win. I thought our defense really generated a lot of offense for us, and our fans tonight, the support we had in the stands, the dominance that Pep had in the first half, and just seeing our freshmen step up. I'm really proud of, just seeing different faces kind of in the box score of stepping up and having big moments. Obviously, Livy, from downtown tonight. So Yasmin Clark also, just shout out to her. She was 7 for 8, 15 points, but she just battles. And a lot of people don't see, how physical the game is for her, but she was phenomenal tonight. I'm really proud of her.
And then Caroline, obviously you led the scoring, 24 points tonight. Coach has said, kind of a lot going on out there. What was the court like offensively for you?
Yeah, I mean, I think we did a really good job moving the ball or even setting low ball screens, or I'm setting screens for my teammates, and eventually I kind of get loose a little bit, and I have the first step on them, and they didn't tend to really sink off a as much, so just really taking it to the rim.
And then Olivia, you come in, hit some big threes. How did you kind of fill your role tonight and create some opportunities for the team out there?
Yeah, I mean, I think for me at least it starts on the defensive end, using that as fuel to then run the offense, and I think I just go in there with confidence and run the offense, and not only me setting up the team, setting screens, cutting, that sets me up for good offense, so it's not only just me, it's about the team as well.
And then Isla, coach said obviously coming out of halftime you kind of had to readjust. What was that readjustment like, and how did you kind of help push the team forward?
Yeah, I think obviously Livy and I never been in that situation where you have a team that has a really strong forward scoring guard, and I think in my mind I was kind of thinking, okay, they're gonna be ready to throw the first punch, and it's gonna look a lot different than the first half, even the second quarter. So for me at least, we all planned to just make the reads that are in front of us and adjust what we learned in the second quarter, because I think that was a really good quarter for us, and really just throwing the first punch and starting with a lot of energy.
You've been able to bring Amina into every single round of the tournament so far. What does that mean to you to have her here, and also just to show your work with Team Impact on this stage?
Yeah, I mean, Team Impact is such a phenomenal organization, and Amina is part of our family. She's in the locker room with us. I think this team draws a ton of inspiration from her and her own fight, and I think it also helps to keep the game of basketball in perspective. We're so grateful to be able to go out and have the strength and the ability to put on this uniform and represent NYU. And that's not the position that everybody is, allowed to be in, depending on life circumstances. So I think for her, we draw probably more inspiration from her than anything all season. And that's been that way for a few years. So just so much love for her.
Ladies or coach, anyone, all over the, one game at a time, you guys prepare for every game as if that's the only game that's important, true. But how do you take it when people come to you and say things like, hey, you just tied Connecticut, you have 90 wins in a row? How does that resonate with you guys?
I think on the coaching side, which is probably very different, from what they experience, it's our job to make sure that their focus is in the right place. So even just, the UAA gets us ready, and just if you overlook anybody, it's the SEC of Division III. You're done. So I think it has allowed us to maintain that sense of focus. And then also it's the NCAA tournament. We're playing tonight for a chance to go to the Elite Eight, and obviously our goal for this program is to get back for a chance to compete for a national championship. And there's nothing bigger than that. Even though streaks are phenomenal and obviously has gotten us a lot of national media, a national championship is what this team's goal is. And so to represent this team and all of their effort in the right way means that our mindset has to stay on the next game and also has to stay on the next practice. And we're hopeful to have another opportunity to practice next week.
Caroline, as someone who comes from the New England area, obviously you're very familiar how does it make you feel when people talk about NYU women's basketball in the same breath?
Yeah, I mean, I didn't even realize like what you said. Like I don't think about it. I think I saw on Twitter what Gino had said the other day, but aside from that, I'm not sure anyone's really thinking about it, especially I'm not, because I'm just so grateful to put on the NYU uniform again tomorrow, because at this point I only have some limited games. But I think for us, I don't even know if we can really put it into words to be even in the conversation with them, because, you know, we've always looked up to that team and that coach and all their players throughout like every year that we, you know, started playing basketball. So I think for us, it's more of a shock, but also we do have a job to do.
And for the newbies on the block, how does it feel just being in this position at this time? And is this what you kind of had in your minds when you said, yeah, I'm going to go to NYU?
I think when I first got recruited, they hadn't won their first national championship yet, but when they did and when they kept winning, I really had no surprise. Like after meeting the coaching staff and being on my visit with the girls, every time I saw them winning, I just felt more and more confident and happy, I guess. Like I was like cheering from the sidelines, but to be a part of it now is so exciting. And I think that Pep and coach really create that culture of like, it's really not something you think about. And I think if you told me a couple months ago that this would be happening, I'd be like, oh my God, I'd probably be so nervous and this and this. But you really have no other choice, like being part of this team. And it is really one game at a time. And honestly, when someone comes up to me, I'm like, oh, that's where we're at? Okay, thank you for letting me know. Like I'm not seeking it out. And to what Pep said too, like just even being in conversation with UConn and Gino and all that stuff is just amazing. It's super cool. So yeah.
Anything else?
One more. Obviously I think you got every single person in the game tonight, which you guys also did last week in the first round. So kind of how important is it to get players minutes in a tournament like this where you're going to need to kind of have that experience out there?
Well, I mean, first of all, they deserve it. You know, they deserve, and I mean, man, we wish we could play everybody 40 minutes, and that's just not the way it works. And I think, you know, our bench plays a very selfless role in this experience in a way. And, but the MVP of this team is our bench. I mean, we had half our points tonight from the bench, but more importantly, they get us ready. I mean, they're showing the starters all the looks, and we can manipulate it. And we have such an incredible depth to our bench that we can kind of recreate whatever we're about to see with the players that we have on this roster. So, I mean, I credit them all the time, and I think, you know, people think it's a little bit cliche, like thanking the bench, but we would absolutely not be in the position we're in, streaks, national championships, UAA championships, without the sacrifice and the selflessness of the entire team. And the bench is really the biggest part of giving more of themselves than most people, you know, have to give up to be in a college basketball environment.
Thank you guys so much.
Thank you.